Okay, let's run the website in user mode. We'll notice a very clean interface displayed. First off, a short copyright notion and current version. Second, some data that's already being delivered up front in the form of a table listing the book catalog in its entirety. An option is offered on the tabletop, allowing the visitor to look titles up using an on-site search engine. Other than that, the visitor may click any single title to learn more about it, or any single genre to get a listing of all pertaining titles. Developer pointers, URL routing. If we look closely at any link shortcut, meaning the string that gets sent over to the application upon the visitors clicking the corresponding on-page link text, we'll find that the format of such a string might look a little bit different from what we might usually refer to as standard URL address, typically made up of base URL plus optional subfolder plus page name. The reason for that is that what happens behind the scenes is that a link click would access and run an in-object method directly from within the application's code. Specifically, any such URL would have the application perform a specific action made available via some controller class. The idea here is to follow MVC guidelines, where, as previously explained, a controller type object would first collect input from the visitor, then hand it over to a model type object in order to retrieve specific data, and finally have a view type object render the appropriate resulting page. In detail, any access by the visitor is made possible via this URL routing mechanism. This means that instead of referring to a file-based page name, the URL we'll be using here is to be made up of up to 3 optional values following the base URL itself. 1. Controller name. 2. Action name. 3. Parameter name plus value. Please note that none of those 3 values is a must. For example, when the MVC website's homepage is to be presented to a visitor, all they'd ever need to specify on the browser's address bar is the base URL. The ASP.NET Runtime Engine would have the appropriate configuration directed to hand control over to a default home controller class, and specifically to its default method or action, say, one that's called index. Thus, specifying a base URL of HTTP localhost 1037 on the browser's address bar would have the exact same effect as, and bring us to the exact same page as, specifying the controller class name as well as in HTTP localhost 1037/home, and also when specifying the action name too, as in HTTP localhost 1037/home/index. Another example would be where we'll need to run a specific action from a specific controller. Let's say we're looking to access the on-site search engine. In that case, an on-page link would refer us to /control book search /index, which would really bring us to the index action of the control book search controller class. Last example would be where we'll need to specify a value as a parameter for some controller's action to retrieve data by. Let's say a visitor would like extra details about some table listed title. As soon as they click it, the URL to be specified might look like control library/xbrowse !par n value equals 1, which would bring us to the xbrowse action of control library controller class, and send the value of 1 via the actions par n value parameter. Okay. We've successfully completed a fairly detailed description from both visitors and developers' points of view of some of the theory and practical application of the model view controller design pattern here at the MVC book kiosk system.